Tsundoku, noun. Language of origin, Japanese. Meaning, the act of acquiring books but allowing them to pile up unread.
Out of all the classic companies to find refuge on the Evercade, Interplay finds some solace almost exclusively in this retro arena. Never one for multi-game compilations on modern consoles, and lacking any franchises that would be worthy of a complete collection, their library is a hodgepodge of licenses, genres, and quality. Still, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and Blaze is very much a gates open, come on in company. Let's open up every Evercade ever, the catalog of all things Evercade. For the first cartridge collecting Interplay titles that don't have a movie license on it or Blizzard Entertainment behind it, 6 titles have been collected, all legends in their own rights in the 1990s. Can the discerning gamer handle them well in the roaring 2020s?
Comics, games, animation, and a variety of henshin credible superhero shows from Japan. Chad Bonin guides you through the Tsundoku Zone.
Battle chess. One of the most iconic games of all time comes to consoles in the form of Battle Chess, a port of the landmark Amiga title and one of Interplay's first hits. With impressive animation but minimal urgency, Battle Chess might be appropriate as a slow burn with save states, but with enhanced ports and thousands of variations, Battle Chess might not particularly stand out in the 21st century. Titan. Arkanoid and Breakout are a genre upon themselves, in which you maneuver what's usually codified as a ship, and bounce a ball against relatively stagnant bricks to break on through. Titan puts a bit of a 360-degree spin on the title, allowing your player's ship to move in all directions to take out bricks every which way. BOOGERMAN, a pick and flick adventure. It's disgusting and horrifying, and therefore it's peak 1990s gaming. The budget superhero BOOGERMAN uses the powers of the human body and all of its disgusting nature to traverse through the levels. While filled with unique visuals, BOOGERMAN's gameplay is basic enough that it's not surprising that he only ever showed up in one more game, Clay Fighter 63 1/3, and its rare update, Sculptor's Cut. Clay Fighter.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are the combatants for this extravaganza.
The fight to become the king of the circus is formed in this initial entry in the Clay Fighter series, itself a parody of the Street Fighter franchise, and all that came in the wake. Quirky characters and the vaguely charming usage of claymation doesn't mean the game is particularly great. Slow and cumbersome, this is a relic of the 1990s that could have been best left back then. Earthworm Gem. The title that started a franchise, it's not hard to see why this game was iconic for the era. Filled with wit and unique character designs, Gem was, if anything, a visual break from more building block games such as Mario and Sonic. Probably a little looser in gameplay and platforming than wanted, Earthworm Gem is one of the landmarks of the 90s that needs to be played at least once. Incantation. The dreaded Necroman has attacked the Magic Kingdom in this late Super Nintendo release. Your wizard must use their magic powers and platforming prowess to take on all threats in this charming platformer. By 1996, most gamers were moving on to 3D adventures on disc-based consoles, so a nearly forgotten platformer salvaged by Evercade for this release deserves some attention that it missed decades ago. The 1990s were a wild ride, and you can see how many of the aforementioned titles were the start of, or at least the attempt to start, a number of ongoing franchises. Earthworm Gem stands out at the top of the Tsundoku pile, a title that had surprisingly great graphics and quirky gameplay in an era of more cookie-cutter level design. After a solid sequel, the franchise fizzled out and looks to have a revival on the currently vaporware Intellivision Amico. Seemingly inspired by the platforming prowess provided by Gem, BOOGERMAN tries to make a pure gross-out platformer, and if that was their goal, they succeeded. Titles like Clay Fighter didn't storm the shelves back in the day like their fighting brethren, and Titan is one of those titles that's surprisingly fun that you've never heard of. Battle Chess is a very slow version of chess. Lastly, Incantation is one of those titles that seems to be the prize of the Evercade library, a nearly forgotten platformer that demands a second look but isn't too demanding itself on the player. Stuff like this is what I love to discover on this retro console. That's it for the Tsundoku Zone, but the stack never ends.
This program is brought to you by the support of members of the Tsundoku Zone Patreon. If you enjoyed this episode and have the means, please consider joining to keep the show running and get an inside look on the production.
Available for Windows 95 from Activision.